out there and just do a quick peek before we start?
Do you remember me? You used to come and ride my horse.
Stephanie was coming.
You're so tall now.
Okay.
I didn't recognize
Or
her.
I'll kick Don out there and have him go round it.
I'll go.
Okay.
It's so good to see you.
It's good to see you. Oh my God.
Pamela was the one that told me about this. I had no idea.
Well, it just kind of dawned. This is Siobhan, and Dawn rides with us.
My husband rides, and
really?
so yes,
Nice to meet you.
to meet you. And I said we've got to do this story. You know, we just have to.
Yeah, I think so. Is it just because it's that time?
It's kind of both, but with the scleroderma, it's getting really hard. I can't halt a horse anymore. I have to have help.
Okay.
And my balance is off now. It's scleroderma.
Oh, well, I'll wait
And
for
we've
that.
had
Well,
25 good years. Can you believe that? 25 years.
Oh, we better sit down.
oh my goodness. Okay, I've got to stand by you because I hear that you're hearing me. So I'm going to come. I'll come stand on this side. Oh, look and see, I'm getting a sign of approval. Life is good.
Waiting to Welcome. We have a very interesting program tonight, but before we do that, there are a few things we have to do. One of them is I need to remind you, if you are already a member, this is the last month of your membership, and Miss Kelly over here, our treasurer, would be more than happy to take your membership for next year. So before you leave, she is available. Also, officially, we're supposed to install officers. We elected them last time, and we had our our little program last time. But officially, we're supposed to be sworn in, I guess. And so I'm going to call on our retired Superior Court Judge, Howard McCardle, to do the official swearing in.
That's not necessary. Will all the officers please rise?
And board members. Officers and board members.
All right. Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I,
The office to which you were elected, state
President.
it.
writ large,
Promise to do what I'm supposed to do.
promise to do
what I'm supposed to do.
You're sworn in.
He's always very reliable because he's so succinct.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, I think then, with no further ado, I'm going to pass the microphone to Siobhan, our program chairman. She's getting organized. Technology is interesting.
yeah.
There you are.
As Gretchen said, this is our time of year for dues, and since most of us don't carry checkbooks anymore, or it seems like cash, we do take Zelle, and you can send that to info@kahs1959.org. When you do that, put in the memo that, this is the Slatic family or whatever you're doing. Just a reminder, if you are a business, it's $35, and you go in our monthly newsletter, and you're also online. So it's a great opportunity to advertise with us. So without any further ado here, whoops, I've got more pieces than I know what to do with. Whoops, okay. I would like to introduce you to Lisa DeJanes, and she is the founder of the Saddle Up Therapeutic Riding Stable. And this is going to be her final year. She is in her 25th year. And my caveat was, what do hippos and horseback riding have in common? But before we do that, we are continuing a little bit along with our animal theme. And Lisa and I tend to be very direct kind of people.
Want me to do something with lights?
I think we're okay.
Is everybody okay?
Yeah, because there's not going to be a whole lot. So I want to address the elephant in the room. So we have horses, hippos, and an elephant. If you notice, Lisa is probably not as limber as you would expect someone in therapeutic horseback riding to be. And so, Lisa, I'm going to have you explain what it is that you have, because I don't want you to be spending the time looking at her going, what's going on? We want to check off this box and then get on to hippos and horses.
In 2009, I was diagnosed with systemic scleroderma. Scleroderma is one of the oldest autoimmune disease. They don't know how you get it. They have no idea. And it is hardening of the skin and the connective tissues. My skin is really soft, or really hard, and really tight. And it pulls my fingers in. My balance is off. My muscles don't look like beautiful steaks or anything. My muscles look like beef jerky now. So it's really hard for balancing. I can't get up. I have to have someone help me get up. I waddle really bad. And my body is just producing too much collagen. We all want collagen to keep the wrinkles away, but it's producing too much collagen. And they don't know how I got it. When I went to the doctor, I was walking 3 to 5 miles a day with my neighbor. And the first thing I had was my hands started feeling really tight. I couldn't make a fist. So I went to the doctor. He did blood work. I'd already done my 50-year-old physical, everything. And he called me back and he said I had inflammation in my blood. And I thought, what does that mean? I'm getting fat blood? I don't know. So at first I was thinking maybe rheumatoid arthritis. And then when I went to see the rheumatologist, he took one look at my fingers that were then straight, but they were real fat. They looked like fat sausages. And he told me to take my shoes off. And I did. And my toes were that way. And he goes, you have scleroderma. And I told him about Sharon Runner. I said, I know Sharon. And she had scleroderma, but she had crest. And he goes, no, you have systemic. So it's my whole body. And he told me to get please do not go home. Do not look it up on the internet. Get my affairs together. And 80% of the people that have systemic scleroderma, he gave me 3 years to live. And so when I got to 3, I was like, very good. I called him, I'm at 3 years, looking good. And then he said, then usually the other 20% in 5 years. So I hit 5 years, still doing good. He told me I'd be in a wheelchair, I'd have oxygen, and I thought, nope. And December will be 14 years that I've been living with it.
So, Lisa has an interesting sense of humor with things, and someone else might look at her hands and say, oh, you poor soul. But Lisa, what was the terminology used for you?
Well, when I went to Hemmy's one day, and I was talking to Rob, and we were getting, just green, whatever. And this little boy was behind me, kept going, look, just look, and the mom's like, shh, no. And so finally, Rob goes, it's okay. And I turned and I said, can I help you? And he goes, can I see your hands? And he's looking at my hands. He goes, you are the luckiest person And I said, why? And he goes, because you have Lego man hands. And so I thought, I have Lego man hands. So it's been really hard, to do different things, but you learn how to live with them. But then I thought, you know what? I got Lego man hands. So that's a good thing.
This is Lisa's family, and Lisa is over to the left. Her husband Terry is to the right. Her son Nick is the next, and then Jeff. And Lisa, you had some interesting challenges as a family. So can you tell us a little bit about your kids?
Well, my youngest son, Jeff, the one by the horse, he loved horses. And he thought it was really great, that we were doing this. Nick, not so great. He didn't like it too much. He is like, we have horses in the backyard? He didn't know. So that was probably one of the hardest things, was to go. When I started it 25 years ago, Jeff was around and he helped volunteer, and we helped, get that going. The other thing is Terry hates his picture taking, my husband, and he's like, no, don't do it. You can see. But it's really worked out. Once I got scleroderma, Nick really stepped up to the plate. And one day we were coming up, some of you know our daughter-in-law is Danny Harder, the Harders who farmed here, Scott Harder and that. And we were going down the freeway and he goes, look at that hay, that looks really good. And both my husband and I looked like, you noticed hay? I can't believe it, So, but it has been a whole family. It's just not my business. It's the whole family's business.
And one of your sons has a little bit of a challenge.
Yes. My oldest son, Nick, he had a 105.2 temperature when he was almost 2 years old. He's on, they call it now just being on the spectrum. His diagnosis is severe articulation with apraxia. And so he's almost like a stroke in a way of coordination, but severe articulation, the speech. And so some days you have to tell him to speak louder, but he is doing very well, has overcome all that, and he is now working at Palmdale Hospital. He's in the surgery department as a transporter, and he's been there 20 years. So we've, passed that up. So it's been really good. He's probably ridden in our program 2 times, 3 times maybe. That's it.
And your other son, what did he end up doing?
Jeff is a large animal vet in Bakersfield. He works at Bear Mountain, I think it's called. I can't remember. And he does dairy, but now they also bought the names off of a horse veterinarian that retired. And so Jeff gets his fix with horses. And then he also does dairy. And he lives in Bakersfield, doing very well. Doing very, very good.
So you can tell this is a family that just sleeps in and watches Netflix.
Yes.
I don't think so. Whoops, sorry here. Lisa, there are some people that I think are born a little more coordinated than some of us. And so, Lisa, what was your background?
I taught PE. I taught PE at Sacred Heart School and at Desert Christian. And then I was the athletic director, and we formed a group that's still going right now, and it's called the Antelope Valley Christian Athletic League, and that was after school sports. While doing that, I met Raymond Gray, who was a physical therapist, and we did different seminars together and that. And one day he said, let's start a pool program. And we did, and I can't believe what we did. I feel like I was telling you, we got
a swimming pool program.
A swimming pool program.
Yeah.
We got milk jugs and put them under our arms, the empty milk jugs, and put them under our arms for floaties. I don't know what we did to people's shoulders. I feel really bad. But then we ended up, and I worked for him for almost 20 years, and became the aquatic director there. And and then I became an instructor through AEA to be able to teach people to become aquatic instructors. I did a lot of the youth sports, and then a lady, Ginger Cronky, and myself, we used to do a program. We made a program called Moving and Grooving, and we would go to preschools and work with the youngsters doing the movement and that.
Okay.
And then Saddle Up.
So you knew already before Saddle Up the importance of physical activity
Yes.
and how all those things work together.
Yes.
Okay. So while Lisa was working at the aquatic therapy, there was a physical therapist who noticed that Lisa's pretty coordinated, pretty athletic, and she has horses. So she broached Lisa with this unique idea.
She wanted me to do hippotherapy. And I was so naive. I said, I have horses, I don't have hippos. Had no idea that hippo was the Greek word for horse. Had no idea. So we looked into the program. I had my son get on the computer, and we looked up a program called NARA, North American Riding for the Handicapped Association. And my mom and my sister and my husband and myself, we went up to Bakersfield, saw their program up there called Mayor's. And I thought, gosh, I can wear shorts and play with horses all day and kids. Life is good. Never volunteered at one of these programs ever. And so we started with 2 riders and 1 horse. And both the riders are still with us. Christina Buckley has cerebral palsy, and her dad is Dr. Buckley, the orthodontist in town. And then Lauren Pyle, she started with us. She, mild MR, mental retardation. And she's come so far, she rides so well, and she is now our little barn manager. She can't tell me what 1 + 1 is, but she can tell me if I put the wrong bridle on the wrong hook. And Corey, she rides Faith, and you should see how beautifully she rides Faith.
Okay. So what is hippotherapy?
Hippotherapy is a movement of the horse to help a rider. We are all 3-dimensional as humans. We walk forwards and backwards and swing our hips side to side. A horse is the only thing that can stimulate and simulate a human gait. So they walk forwards and backwards and they swing their hips side to side. But they do it in a much slower way of walking. So the cadence, the speed is much slower. So that stimulates the rider's brain of this 3-dimensional movement. And the first time I ever saw one of our little girls, Natalie, she's still with us, when she has cerebral palsy, and she would walk up, and she scissors. They walk like this, and we'd have a person on each side, and she'd go up the steps to get on the horse like this. But after an hour of riding, she will now, when she gets up, she walks this way because it's stimulated her brain, and she doesn't scissor. And it will last a long time, you know, and she still rides with us. Loves to trot, wants to be a barrel racer. You know, she's 17 years old now riding with us.
And what did Ray, the physical therapist, say about what you were able to do in an hour of
He was
horseback
shocked
riding?
because Ray's like, what are you doing, Lisa? You're just playing with horses. But when he saw what we could do in an hour on the horse, he said he cannot do an hour in the clinic because we can have the horse, you know, simulate that human gait, which one of those big balls that therapy has to sit on, and that you can't do it. So he was really impressed. That's when he got on board.
And then, so you started off with?
2 riders and 1 horse, Lucky.
Okay. And so you've used some different, you used NARA to start off with.
Right, and NARA was North American Riding for the Handicapped Association. It's NARHA.
Whoops, sorry.
That's okay. And then they turned to PATH, and that is Professional Association for Therapeutic Horsemanship International. It is now international. It's just not in the United States. So what we're doing here in Little Palmdale, they're doing in China, in India. And, you know, it's amazing, really amazing that we can all do it.
And so when they're up on a horse, they're not just bebopping around. As you say, it's not a pony ride.
It's not a pony ride. We have them do a lot of different things. Some of our kids, like our Lauren, who's been with me the whole time, she's a more advanced rider. So she's really working on her horse skills and that. But we have them ride forwards, backwards. We'll have the poles where they have to put rings on the poles, or we'll have them cross their midline and put rings on the poles. We'll shake the poles, have them do that. We have, we just did it a couple of weeks ago. We did horse skaball, where they're sitting on their horse, and I have one of those play school basketballs, and they have to throw it in to into the basket. And so a lot of them have a really tough time with it. And then I'll tell you, my autistic kids, they won't even look. They throw it and they make it every time. It's amazing. So we do a lot of different exercises with them. They have to do airplanes, helicopters, while they're balancing on their horse, and helicopters. We have them put their hands on their heads, close their eyes, stick their tongue out, just do all different things. We're doing Mother's Day cards this week, and they're coloring on the horse. So they're actually doing art therapy on the horse. And then they get to give their card to their parents.
Or to their wife.
Or to their wife, yes.
I'm sorry. Now, you know, everybody that's involved in an activity, there's someone that's unique that kind of stands out in your mind. And you had a special client by the name of Michael.
Yes. He has cerebral palsy and just had a really hard time. His arms are bent. Like my arms used to be bent, but his are bent, his knees. He's starting to look like his chair because he sits in his chair so much. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Had a hard time talking, has a hard time talking, but is brilliant. And one day, because we would ride him forwards and backwards and ride him on, you know, he would sit sideways, close his eyes. And it's kind of weird because you're sitting sideways on the horse, but the horse is moving forward, but you're sideways. And it's really kind of hard to get your bearings on it. Well, one day, you know, he loved to be laying on his stomach like the dead man. And he'd lay on his stomach, and Grandpa Ray, Ray Schultes, would pull his hands, and then I would pull his legs, or the physical therapist. And he goes, oh, it feels so good. And so one day I'm rubbing his back, and I look and I said, cool boxers, Mike. And then I looked down because he's laying down. I said, you're in boxers. And what he told me, I will never forget. There's two things. He said, you know, pretty cool. Since I've been riding a horse, my mom does not have to give me suppositories. And she doesn't have to wipe a 15-year-old butt anymore. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then he also said something that we had a shirt made up. Because he said, when I sit in my chair, people have to look down at me. But when I'm on a horse, they have to look up to me. And I went one time with his mom, and we went to Santa Clarita, Valencia down there, to the baseball team. And he talked about motivation and everything. And I don't think there was a dry eye in the room, and neither were the baseball players. I mean, they were. So to see this young man in a chair and to talk as well as he did. He wanted to be a coach to Lakers because he knew everything. He goes, I can sit in a chair and draw and tell them. But he was always such a motivational speaker And he works in sports. He went to college. And in high school, he called me. And the next morning, it was a Saturday morning because it was on a Friday night, and he made prom king. He was so excited that he did prom king. So it's, you know, these guys are amazing. Even though they're in chairs, they're amazing. And I forget, we don't make fun of anybody. We have fun with them.
And you had another little one that touched your soul, and this horse Danica, I'll let you tell how that came to
Well,
be.
we bought Heidi, and she was our first Norwegian fjord, and they are amazing. I have fallen in love with this breed. They are a miniature Belgium. So they're the only horse, the only animal in the world that has the same size heart, lung, kidneys, everything as their big counterpart. That's why their necks are this thick. And when we bred Heidi, we got, she came to us bred, that's what it was. And we got a baby Hope. And she only lived 18 weeks. And it really devastated us. So I called the owner, we took Heidi back down, we got bred her, and we got Danica. And how we named Danica was really, really kind of a cool thing. For 2 years, we did the Painted Turtles horse program. And this week, the 1 week we went, was the Little People's week. And we met, the first time I'd ever seen one, I met a little girl named Elizabeth, and she's about this big, and she's a primordial. And total, what do I want to say, just a perfect little body. But she was a size 4 toddler, and that's what she wore. But perfectly formed, but just little.
And how old was she at that time?
And she was 17 at that time, just little. So we were talking about the fjords, and we said, hey, my son Jeff goes, there's 2 horses in this stall. And we had to open the gate because they're all so little. And everybody's like, I don't know. And then finally someone said, she was the one that said, there is a baby in her belly. And we said, yes, Heidi's pregnant. So we told them about how the fjords, every year they do the alphabet. And so we said, this year is C, but next year when she's due in March, it will be a D. And little Elizabeth, she goes, name her my name. And I said, well, your name's Elizabeth. She goes, no, my real name is Danica. And so I said, well, how do you spell it? And she goes, Danika. She goes, we can call it Heidi's Little Danica. And we thought, okay. And then the day she was leaving, she brought her dad in. And she goes, I have to tell my dad, the story. So we opened up the stall door again. And she goes, where's the second horse? And he had no idea. And she goes, it's pregnant. So then she told me, she goes, Lisa, if it's a boy, you need to name it Dusty. Heidi's Little Dusty. So I said, okay. And that was in August. And then we had Christmas, and she was born March 25th. So I called Painted Turtle and said, would you please let little Elizabeth know that she had a girl, so it's Heidi's Little Danica. And they said, okay, we will, but Danica passed away, or Elizabeth passed away. She had a brain aneurysm because their little brains are so little in their veins. And it was, she died at 18. And so the mom called me, and I told her, I said, when Danica was born, she popped right up, pulled the afterbirth out of her mom, and it was like, we're thinking, uh-oh, she's gonna be a feisty one. And they said that Danica, little Elizabeth, was super feisty. So I think that we have her in Danica, because she is feisty. So that's how we got Danica's name.
The tuition that people pay to come and join covers 49% of the budget. If you go into Lisa's website, it's avsaddleup.org. There's a to donate button. She didn't know I was going to put that in there, but I did. So I want to give a plug for that. As you can see, Lisa's a unique person. There's no accident that she's running that program. And so, Lisa, what was it that you told me?
Well, you have to stay positive. That's my big thing. Have to have positive. I even tell the kids when they're writing, they'll be looking so serious, and I look and I say, smile. And then they go, and they relax. But I'm always, we have to be positive. Like life will throw you a curveball. It is. It throws you a curveball, and you can only keep going. That's all you can do. Just keep going. The doctors told me I needed to keep it easy, and I said, I'm not going to sit on the couch and they'll pour me. I'm not going to do it. Because I don't have shunts in my brain. We have a new volunteer that's come out, and we just met him, and he's got a prosthesis leg. And he's like, I'm 75, I'm still working at the studios, but because there's a strike, I'm coming here. And but he's really positive, and he goes, you sound a lot like me. And I said, we have to keep positive. I don't have to go to the doctors as much as some of these kids. I'm not hospitalized like some of these people are. And so I walk funny and I have Lego man hands.
And so I wanted to open it up for any questions. If you have any questions about hippotherapy, about Lisa, we wanted to give you a little bit of time to ask anything.
Well, I brought some flyers. We are in need of volunteers, and right now is the hardest time of the year for us because school's getting out, proms are going, colleges are graduating, and the kids, I have a girl that is going to come Saturday morning. She goes, I'm only coming in the morning to work horses. She goes, because I have to get ready for the prom. I have to get my hair done. I have to. And I always tease them, you don't want to smell like a horse? So that's the right now is, in the perfect world, if I have 4 riders, it takes 12 volunteers, 1 leader and 2 sidewalkers. But we don't live in the perfect world. So we can have at least 1 sidewalker with a leader. Most of our people half of our people don't need leaders. The leader can be there but be unhooked. But some of them are extremely severe and really tough. So we have to have the leader and the 2 sidewalkers for that. Any questions?
Jane, where's your boy? Oh, okay, right next. Okay, I'm going to have you just stand up. He did a little bit of volunteering out there, and I'm going to have you just come up here and share a little bit of your experience. And I'll let you talk in the microphone, so.
And make him talk next to you so that
Oh,
video
whoops.
gets it.
Whoops, and sorry, we got to be side by side.
Okay.
Yeah, side by side.
Oh,
Let's go out of the way.
yeah.
How's that?
Well, now that I've broken everything, I think we're fine.
Yeah. Yeah, so Sandy Peasinger one time, she had asked if I wanted to come check it out. So yeah, I went there and pretty much just hung out that first time and watched and whatnot, and then kind of forgot. But like my mom said, I went back I think a week or 2 later, and Grandpa Ray I think would do the training at the time, and basically I guess we just kind of walked around and showed the basics of whatnot, and then I started volunteering. I went just about every Thursday. Thursday was the days I went, and I helped out lead quite a bit, mostly. And then the one time the Fjord decided to drag Grandpa Ray on that new one, then I became the crash test dummy for a while with that horse. So I got stuck on that one for a while, which was fun. But he turned around.
Oh, he was a great horse, Bjorg.
Yeah.
He was Bjorg. The kids would say Bjorg, the fjord.
And that is also Sandy Randleman. So,
Yeah.
so
Sandy,
for,
yes.
Yeah.
So for any of you.
But yeah, I don't know how many years I was there. Maybe.
Quite a few.
Oh, I don't know. I was
I have to
probably
go back
12 or
and look.
13, I think,
Yeah.
when I started.
Yeah, you were young.
Yeah, and then I want to say I probably went till I was at least 17 or 18. I know when I
I was
started
going to say
working.
you were there probably at least 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I know it got kind of harder when we started working a lot, and I didn't go quite as much, but I did ride once in a while when if somebody wouldn't show up and they didn't quite need a hand, I'd hop on a horse and go for a ride. So I rode Sunny a lot. But yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty much it. It was pretty incredible though. The time I spent for the few years to watch, I don't really remember too many names, but to watch some of those kids, like, I don't know, maybe I'm being or I don't know what the word is, but I swear I seen some of them kids come in wheelchairs, and by the time I was leaving a few years later, they were walking out of there on their own, you know. So it's definitely something that's pretty incredible to see. So if I was closer, I'd probably still be trying to go, but with 2 states
I'm glad
away
you
now,
came
so.
tonight.
Well, that's okay. You just have to come spend a little more time.
I know, right? Yep.
We also have one of our riders, our past riders back there. And I couldn't believe it's Lyric.
You
And
want to
Lyric-
stand up, hon?
Lyric used to ride with
Hi,
us.
sweetie.
And her brother Lee.
Would you like to come up front?
I don't,
Would they like to come up?
do you remember the horse that Lyric rode?
Was it New York?
Well, she rode Laredo for a long time.
That's right.
And do you remember what she used to say when she'd get on him?
I don't remember.
She would get on Laredo, and she did it to the beat of Lowrider, and she'd go, La-re-do, bumba, bumba, bumba. Every time she did that, it was so cute. Do you remember Laredo?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then her brother Lee rode with us too.
Yeah. And how many years did they ride with you?
Gosh, I can't even remember.
A few years, and then her brother was really, really little.
Yeah, and then Lee rode with us for years.
A tall horse,
Bob.
Bob.
Yeah, Big Bob.
Lee was little, and Bob was huge.
Yeah.
He was so cute.
And he rode him in the horse show for years and years. Can
Did
I
you
tell
like
a
it?
story about Lee?
Yeah.
Lee was so funny. He had this one girl, Catherine, who became one of our instructors. And she was leading the horse. And Lee started getting really mad. And he goes, I don't want her anymore. I don't want her anymore. So Grandpa Ray, who was our volunteer coordinator then, and myself, we said, Lee, tell us what's wrong. And he goes, she's a girl. And I said, okay. And I said, but can I lead your horse in for you? And he goes, yeah. And I said, but I'm a girl. And he goes, you're old. And then we had to have a guy lead him. So, and that was that one gentleman. He used to, I can't think of his name now. He used to come all the time with a truck with a flag on the back of the window. And he was always with Lee.
Didn't he move or something?
Was it? Yeah,
Because they got really,
really close. Yeah.
yeah.
And Lee wouldn't do anything unless he was there. So, but Lyric, yeah, one thing about Lyric, she always was humming. And I love it because they have Booker music, Mel Booker music. And I always thought, yeah, and Lyric would sing him, but it would always be so funny. The Ray, do, bumba, bumba, bumba. You remember that?
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much, honey. What is your oldest and your youngest ones that you've had?
That I've had?
Uh-huh.
Youngest is 3, and oldest is 78.
Okay. All righty. And Dawn, you know I'm going to put you in the hot seat, so you might as well come on up.
He's turning red.
Yeah. Don's close to one of the oldest. He's 69. I'll have you come sit right here, hon.
Okay. Oh, this.
Yeah.
Okay, I have been riding for almost 2 years. I think it is, huh?
Year and a half.
Year and a half.
Year and a half. And I ride on a big horse,
Huge horse.
huge horse. It's 17.5 hands.
17.3.
3?
Yeah, because hands are only 4 inches.
What's just a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
And he's kind of a feisty horse. And I have a rare disease. And anyways, after riding the horse for an hour, my balance is so much better. And even after the next day, for days, I feel better. The only thing I can't do is when you say to close your eyes and put your hands out.
That's hard.
I kind of want to fall off the horse, but Kenner is the name of the horse, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he's a Dutch warm blood,
Yep.
and he's flea-bitten color.
Flea-bitten gray, you got it.
Yes, and he's almost looks white, and he's really feisty. I think he likes me, and I love him dearly. And years ago, I was walking with a cane, and I couldn't talk, and but riding, and normally now I ride with the same group of kids or people.
Right.
And there's this one boy, he gets out of the car with his parents, and he kind of slobbers. I forget his name.
Caleb.
Yeah.
Caleb. And they push him up in a chair, right? Or he tries to walk. And once he gets on that horse, he is the happiest kid, waving his hands, talking to me, and I've met some really good people with really bad diseases. And it makes you think how blessed a lot of us are.
Right.
But it's a wonderful program, and I hate to see it coming to an end.
We say it's bittersweet.
Maybe somebody in the valley would pick it up or something and continue the program, because it's wonderful. The people that I've seen and talked to, I really don't know all the riders, but because we come at different times, and with so many different diseases, rare diseases.
Right.
And it's helping them tremendously, and it's helped me a whole lot, Lisa, and I have so much respect for you.
Thank you. Don't make me cry.
You keep me positive
Thank
every
you.
time I see you and talk to you, and your smile, and
Thank you.
I try to smile every time I'm on the horse too.
They all do. They're like a bunch of movie stars.
I have my own problems because I can't move my right side, so they have to have somebody big. Terry, Lisa's husband, isn't that big. I've had bigger guys try to help me get off the horse, but somebody's got to push my leg, and I go
Over that huge horse.
real fast, or otherwise it starts seizing up. And Terry gives me the old bear hug, and and keeps me from falling. But once I get my sea legs, my brain is balanced and feels really good. And I can't say enough about you and your family and
Thank you.
the program you have had for all these years. And
I have to tell you, the thing that you said, you feel better, your brain feels better. Our physical therapist called it a serotonin milkshake. He goes, it just shakes that serotonin, and he goes, and you feel really good.
you do, you really do.
And we also have, I don't know, oh, there they are, back there.
Thank you.
The Chris's, their granddaughter, Julianne, rides with us. And she rides on Saturdays. And she just talks and talks. And then she tries to get my fingers apart. Let me get those fingers apart. She's a cutie pie. And Terry leads Julianne a lot. So, the horse that he rides, Tenor, came to us from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And one of our volunteers was going to college up there. And they have over 100 horses up there. And this horse used to be on the equestrian team. And if you Google San Luis Obispo, the Cal Poly, and you Google the equestrian team and put in Tenor Tuesday, I don't know where Tuesday came from, but that's him. He was jumping 6 and 6.5 feet all the time. He's a big boy. And the vet that Jenna was working with that day, they said he needs to go to a volunteer or to a therapeutic riding, and Jenna goes, I know the one. So I told Jenna, this is one of the first horses we've ever done sight unseen. So I told Jenna to take a picture. I forgot. Jenna is 6'6". And so the picture with Tenor, it looks good. Well, when he pulled him out, came home and pulled him out of that trailer, I was like, oh my gosh. I can't even look over his back. He's so tall. And Terry had to saddle him the other day, and he's like, just because he's huge. And he's just a good old boy, and he very well trained. The person who had him went through college and then donated him to the college. And they were doing little kids riding lessons with him. And that's when they said he needs to do more than just this. And he's really, we have Dawn riding him, but we have little ones riding him too. I just have to have tall enough sidewalkers to work with him. So.
Any other questions? We've got a ton of horse people in here. Janet?
I was just wondering if the horses have to have any special kind of training when they come, or do you do that? Or?
Yeah, we do that. We do a 90-day, I have a 90-day paper that I have to go over. They have to be able to go through the ramp, stand still at the ramp, have to be by wheelchairs, walkers. We'll have someone run up the ramp screaming and throwing their hands crazy just because if I have an autistic child that's mad or something. So we do. You can usually tell by the first week if they can handle it or not. I had 2 really good horses that came from the sheriff department. And I should have known because the one horse's name was Boss. And I should have known. He always wanted to be in the lead, didn't want anybody behind him. He was bomb-proof, literally, because of what he did, but not with the kids. He didn't make it, him and his. And then they have to be able to trot with someone on him, leading to trot, and the other one would not trot at all, would not do it. So we do that. And it's usually, you can tell, but it's a pretty rigorous thing. We throw balls at them because when they're playing horse ball and they throw it into the basket, it can hit the backboard and then come back and hit them. So they have to be able to stand. We put hula hoops over their heads. Noodles, if we do jousting and they're riding and they want to joust, they joust with the noodles. They have to be able to handle that. So we just don't ride. I mean, we play a lot of games. And they think they're playing games, but we're working on skills for them.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening.
And Char made cookies if anybody'd like some. Okay, Gretchen, did you want to?
I just want to remind people that Kelly is here to laugh. And thank you for coming. And we will be here again next month. Starting our new year, we have one meeting in June. It will be here.